Hey friend, I'm honestly so glad you decided to click on this video, and if subscribing is something you're thinking about, well, that would mean a lot to me too. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm Ethan Cole. 12 months ago, I would have bet everything I had on my marriage being rock solid. Claire and I had been together for a decade, married for 7 of those years. I was sure our relationship had depth, that it was the kind built to last. We'd weathered some rough storms, layoffs, missed chances on houses, and 2 devastating miscarriages. Still, we always found a way back to each other. At least, that's what I believed. Claire worked in event planning. Her job was high speed, demanding, one of those roles where you're constantly rushing between high-profile venues, organizing glitzy galas and celebrity fundraisers. I never fully understood the whirlwind she lived in, but I admired her dedication. I, on the other hand, worked in logistics, planning shipments, streamlining delivery operations, managing truck routes. My world was all about order and precision. Hers was chaotic, glamorous, and full of pressure. Oddly enough, those differences used to bring us closer. Used to. We both deeply wanted to be parents. After our second failed round of IVF, the doctor gently suggested we pause. Claire couldn't bring herself to stop. I didn't argue. I wanted a child, too, badly enough to try again, even when it felt hopeless. Then came that Wednesday evening. I came home late, delayed by issues with a warehouse launch, and found Claire in the kitchen with a white envelope in hand. "Ella's wedding is next weekend. Aspen," she said with a strange brightness in her voice. "It's a whole weekend thing. Rehearsal on Friday, wedding Saturday, brunch Sunday." Ella, a name I barely remembered. One of Claire's college friends. I'd met her once at a party Claire had hosted on a rooftop. I gave a brief nod. "Sounds like a big weekend," Claire went on. "I thought I'd go with Kelsey. You've been swamped lately, and I know those fancy weddings aren't exactly your scene." I paused. "So, you'd rather I didn't come?" She smiled quickly, too quickly. "It's not that. I just figured it was simpler this way. You're buried in work. We'd done separate plans before, and I trusted her. Completely." "Go ahead," I said with a chuckle. "Just don't come home with someone else." She laughed, kissed me on the cheek, and murmured, "Don't be ridiculous." Friday morning, I drove her to the airport. She wore that soft beige cardigan I always loved. Her luggage was minimal, a simple weekend bag. Her hair was loose, relaxed. She waved before disappearing through the terminal doors. That was the final moment where I believed everything was still okay. Hours later, she sent me a photo. Her and Kelsey on the plane clinking champagne glasses. Caption, "Bridesmaids gone rogue." I smiled, sent back a laughing emoji, then dove back into work. We weren't the couple that texted constantly during trips. A few quick updates, and that was it. So when things got quiet, I didn't think twice. At first. On day 2, she messaged, "Rain cleared. Ceremony's happening. I'll call tonight." But the call never came. Then on Sunday, "Landed late. I'll explain everything when I get back." I didn't press her. Claire had never given me a reason not to believe her. I picked her up that night at the airport. She looked tired, but happy, like someone who'd just spent a fun weekend laughing and sipping wine with old friends. We grabbed some Chinese takeout. That evening, we curled up and rewatched her favorite baking show. Later that night, she reached for my hand in bed, pulled me close. We made love. I didn't know then that this moment would become a memory I'd replay with pain. 2 weeks passed. One morning, I woke up with a strange rash stretching across my chest. I figured maybe it was a new laundry detergent, or maybe stress. Then came the fever, the aches. My doctor ordered a full round of tests, blood work, urine analysis, the works. "Could be environmental," he said. "We'll cover all the bases." 2 days later, I sat across from him in his office, hands folded, expression unreadable. "Ethan," he began carefully, "you tested positive for chlamydia." I laughed, nervously. That's got to be a mistake. He didn't flinch. Any new sexual partners recently? No, I answered without hesitation. Just my wife. Only Claire. He leaned back. You might want to talk to her. I left the clinic in a haze, drove across town to a different testing center, redid everything. 3 days later, same diagnosis. I hadn't been unfaithful, not even tempted. The only explanation was her. Still, I didn't say anything right away. I started observing. That night, after she showered, I quietly went through her purse. Nothing suspicious. Lip balm, old receipts, her keys. Then I remembered the small weekend bag from Aspen. She'd stashed it in the back of the closet. I opened it. Inside one of the zippered compartments was a pharmacy receipt. The medication? Azithromycin. I looked it up. It's used to treat chlamydia. My stomach dropped. When she entered the room, still wrapped in a towel, I held the slip out. What's this for? She blinked. Oh, that's Kelsey's. She didn't have her ID, so I picked it up for her. Claire? I swear, Ethan, it wasn't mine. I walked over to my nightstand, pulled out both test results and placed them on the bed. She didn't even look. Just sat down, shaking. It wasn't planned, she said quietly. It just happened. Who? Some guy. From the wedding. I drank too much. It didn't mean anything. His name? It's not important. I haven't spoken to him since. But you came home and slept with me. I thought everything was fine. No. You thought you'd get away with it. She broke down crying, tried to hold me. I stepped away. My voice was flat. I'm not here for excuses, just the truth. But I was about to find out that the truth had more layers. Days went by. I moved into the guest room. Every morning, she left coffee outside the door, knocked softly around lunchtime. I made soup. Want to talk? I stayed silent. Not out of cruelty, out of confusion. What do you even say to someone who quietly dismantled your shared life? There was no yelling, no dramatic fights, just silence, heavy, numb silence. I wasn't angry anymore. I just wasn't there, and I think that terrified her more. Most nights I stared at the ceiling, imagining I could turn the clock back. On the 5th day, I got dressed, skipped the coffee, and called a divorce attorney. No shouting, no begging, just quiet resolve. It was over. Claire didn't really believe me, until the paper showed up 3 days later. That night I came home to find her sitting on the couch, envelope in her hands, eyes swollen from crying. You're really divorcing me? She whispered, like the last 10 years had ended with a single page. I placed my keys on the table. I told you I can't get past this. It was a single mistake. No, it was betrayal, deceit, and denial. Her voice cracked. I didn't know I was infected. I filled the prescription just in case. If you ever left me anything behind, it's gone now. She turned her gaze, her face caught in a flicker of guilt and fear. Can't we at least give therapy a shot? She said. I didn't hesitate. I'm not rebuilding a life you deliberately tore down. Her expression changed instantly. The sorrow vanished. Her mouth set tight, her eyes cold. So that's how it ends? You're just walking away? No, Claire, I said quietly. You ended it. You ended it the moment you stepped onto that plane, acting like our vows were just words without weight. She didn't argue. 5 days later, her things were gone. I thought that was the end of it. I didn't realize the rot ran even deeper. The first crack in the silence came from Kelsey, Claire's closest friend, the one she'd claimed was her travel companion. Her message was brief. We need to meet. Face to face, please. We sat down in a small cafe tucked in an older part of town. The lighting was soft, the kind that invited confessions. Jazz murmured through the speakers. Kelsey sat across from me, untouched coffee cooling in front of her. I probably shouldn't be saying any of this, she began, but I can't keep it to myself anymore. I stayed silent, giving her space. You remember the guy Claire said she hooked up with at the wedding? I gave a small nod. That wasn't a drunken one-time mistake. My breath caught. They were seeing each other long before that, months, maybe longer. She watched my face, trying to see if this was news to me. I was sharing her hotel room that weekend, she continued. I saw messages pop up on her iPad. She freaked the moment she realized I'd read them. What kind of messages? I asked, barely recognizing my own voice. Intimate, emotional, stuff like I miss holding you. That one was from the week before the wedding. I stared at the table. Did she ever say his name? Kelsey hesitated, then spoke. Nathan Gray. The name hit like a steel bat to the chest. Nathan had once been Claire's boss. He owned a boutique event company in downtown Seattle. Polished, articulate, married. He used to pull me aside at office parties and say things like, "She's a gem, Ethan. Don't ever let her go." I'd shaken that man's hand. So this wasn't a fling? I asked. Kelsey shook her head slowly. Number, it was a relationship. She just didn't have the guts to admit it. Why are you telling me this now? Because if I were you, I'd want to know, she said softly. I nodded once, paid for both coffees, and walked into the night. That evening, I sat alone in my home office. Claire had once signed into WhatsApp on my desktop and forgotten to log out. I clicked on the still active tab. There he was, Nathan Gray. I opened their chat. The messages came in waves. Some benign, photos of meals, private jokes. Others unmistakable. Just us this time, no more hiding. Booked the lodge suite, can't wait to see you out of that dress. Wish you were in my bed instead of her. One message was sent 2 days before the wedding, another only a month ago. Then came a screenshot of a spa reservation outside Jackson Hole. Room for 2, entire weekend. I closed the laptop. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't about loneliness or poor judgment. It was calculated. This wasn't a betrayal. It was a full substitution. Claire hadn't simply cheated. She'd engineered another life. I didn't shout, didn't break anything. I made a choice to take back what was still mine. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of my response. I didn't sleep that night, not out of pain or fury, but because, for the first time in months, my mind was razor sharp. Nathan Gray, the smooth-talking executive with a spotless image and a family. Claire didn't act on impulse. She acted with intent. If Kelsey hadn't spoken up, how long would the lies have gone on? There would be no public shaming, no online spectacle. I would do what Claire never did. I would tell the truth to the one person who needed it most. It took less than a day to find her, Melissa Gray, Nathan's wife. An old photo Claire had posted still had her tagged. A charity yoga event, a bakery business, a link. From there, I found her email and her Instagram. I wrote a message, no anger, just truth. Hi, Melissa. You don't know me. I'm Ethan Cole. I was married to Claire, who worked with your husband, Nathan. Recently, I found messages and travel plans between them, suggesting an ongoing affair lasting several months. I'm not reaching out to stir up trouble. I just believe you deserve honesty. If you'd like the details or screenshots, I'm willing to share. If not, I'll leave it at this. Take care. I pressed send, logged out, and shut the laptop. This wasn't revenge. It was resolution. But what Claire did next made it personal. 3 days later, she stormed into my house. No warning, no text. She walked in like the door was still hers. I was in the kitchen, calm. Her face was pale, but her voice came sharp. You told her? She hissed. I didn't flinch. I told her what no one ever told me, the truth. He's livid, she snapped. You could ruin his whole career. I held her stare. He's lucky that's all I did. You just wanted to hurt me. No, I said. I wanted someone to know what I wish I'd known. She threw her hands in the air. You think that makes you noble? You're just spiteful. I stepped forward. You lied, you cheated, you risked everything we had, and I'm the villain? She had no comeback, just silence, then barely audible. You've ruined my life. I didn't raise my voice. No, Claire, I just stopped protecting your lies. That same week, she moved into a rental. Nathan's wife filed for separation. Kelsey reached out again. Melissa had thanked her for helping confirm it all. Nathan went silent. Word was he'd taken a leave of absence. As for me, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. Sometimes justice doesn't explode. It unfolds quietly, leaving the guilty alone with no lies left to lean on. A week passed after Claire's last visit. She vanished. No messages, no calls, but the silence was heavy, not peaceful. I kept waiting. for a final showdown, a letter, a desperate apology. Instead, I received a legal demand. Claire wanted half of our remaining savings, a cut of my retirement fund. I refused. The house had never belonged to her. It was a gift from my father. Her name was never on the deed. She hadn't paid a cent toward the mortgage. That was my line in the sand. She could keep the furniture, the accounts. I wanted one thing, my freedom. Days later, the divorce paperwork arrived. Signed, finalized, filed. No courtroom drama, no drawn-out fights. Just signatures that closed 10 years. That night, I changed the locks. Not to shut her out, but to protect what was left of myself. To close the door and stay whole, unreachable, gone, yet still rooted. I packed the last traces of her, what little was left, and handed the box to Kelsey. She didn't ask questions, just nodded, almost imperceptibly. "You're making the right choice," she murmured. I returned the gesture wordless. Days blurred into weeks. Claire stayed silent. Then one morning, a letter showed up. No return address, just my name in handwriting I knew too well. I almost threw it out unopened, but something stopped me. Inside, it was measured, guarded, no apology. Just a few lines, carefully chosen. "You think you've seen everything. But you haven't. We both made mistakes, Ethan. Maybe someday we'll understand how we got here." Claire. No emotion, no appeal, just that. I folded the paper twice, then dropped it in the trash. It wasn't closure. It was a quiet attempt to rewrite the narrative. But I wasn't stuck there anymore. I turned inward, filled my life with rhythm. Routine, workouts, solo dinners, evening jogs through quiet neighborhoods. Books replaced hollow conversations. Sleep returned slowly. Little by little, I rebuilt myself. No dramatic breakthrough, just gradual, steady healing. Stillness, truth, breath, time, maybe even something like peace. 9 months have passed since Claire left. 9 months since the version of life I once clung to unraveled. And it wasn't just her I left behind. It was the version of me that kept justifying what shouldn't be justified. I assumed the hardest part would be confronting the end. Discovering the truth, facing her, signing those final papers. But that wasn't it. The real test was the day after. Waking up free, yet still afraid. Afraid of quiet. Afraid of solitude. Afraid I'd never trust again. Because betrayal doesn't just break hearts. It warps your perception of everything. But piece by piece, I started over. I woke up with the sunrise, brewed my coffee just the way I liked. Bold, unsweetened, no frills. I stopped hoping for messages that would never arrive. Started running again. Mile after mile, music in my ears, sweat doing the talking. Work became a refuge. I put in for a transfer. Ended up in Bellingham. Slower pace. Fewer cars. More trees. Bought a second-hand Jeep. Got rid of her old couch. Painted the walls myself, each brushstroke reclaiming the space. I expanded my cooking skills. Called my mother more often. Accepted invitations I used to decline. Set boundaries where there were none. Most of all, I let go of the question, why me? The past still visits sometimes. A song we once danced to echoing from a cafe speaker. The taste of a familiar birthday cake. Someone walking past in her perfume. Tiny ghosts pressing on my chest. But they don't undo me anymore. They remind me I made it through. Recently, someone told me Claire's in Chicago now. She's back to planning events. No dramatic shift. No remarriage. Just living her life in a different zip code. And when I heard, I didn't feel bitterness. Didn't feel sorrow. Just a quiet nod to the person I was when I loved her. Then I kept moving forward. People ask if I ever got even. They're hoping for drama. A scene, a collapse, something cinematic. But I tell them, revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's found in distance, in crafting a life stronger than what someone tried to shatter. It's sleeping peacefully while they wrestle with their decisions. It's knowing the truth and never needing to broadcast it. That's real vengeance. And maybe someday someone new will step into my life. Someone who finds comfort in silence, not threat. Someone who understands what loyalty means and deserves the kind I still have to offer. But there's no urgency. Because right now I like the man I've become. Not angry, not wounded. Just free. And for the first time in ages, that's more than enough. This is where our story ends. Feel free to leave your thoughts below. If this resonated with you, check out the other stories on the channel. Until next time, take care.